Here are the do's and don'ts of living in Bend, Oregon. If you're watching this, you're probably considering Bend, Oregon as your new home, or you're just really curious about what it's like to live here. Either way, this video is for you. When I moved here almost 9 years ago, I had some very different expectations about what living in Central Oregon really meant. Some things might seem obvious, but others would surprise you. So today we're breaking down the do's and don'ts of living in Bend, Oregon. Let's go. Hey everyone, welcome back to Vibrant Living in Oregon. I'm Melissa, and on this channel, we explore what it's really like living, working, playing, eating, and yes, buying real estate here in beautiful Oregon. If you or anyone you know is considering making a move to Oregon, please don't hesitate to reach out. You can give us a call, shoot us a text, or send us an email, nights, weekends, whenever. We absolutely love helping people just like you find their ideal locations and dream homes all over Oregon. Whether you're moving here from across the country or you're just thinking about it, this video will help you settle in and avoid some common mistakes some of the most well-intentioned people make, including myself. So before we dive in, grab some popcorn, hit that subscribe button, and tap the bell so every time I come out with a new video, you get notified. All right, let's get into it. Do number 1, embrace the outdoor lifestyle. If you're moving to Bend, you've got to embrace the outdoors. When I moved here, I had no idea how important this first do really is. Sure, I'd go for a jog by the river once in a while, and I'd occasionally walk in my neighborhood, but being able to get outside as much as possible is one of the most valuable things about living in Bend. From hiking and mountain biking in the summer and snowboarding or skiing in the winter, Bend's outdoor lifestyle is a huge part of what makes this place so special. The Deschutes River flows right through the heart of the town, offering tons of opportunities for floating the river on tubes, kayaking, paddleboarding, and even fly fishing. No, I am not a fly fisher woman, but it looks like a lot of fun. I really didn't appreciate how special it is to walk out my front door and be able to bike around the town, run along the numerous trails all over Bend, or drive 10 minutes to get to the river walk by the Deschutes River. When I lived in Orange County, I was fortunate enough to be a short drive to the ocean. California is such a beautiful place, but when you have to drive to a specific location, find a parking spot you've got to pay for just to enjoy the natural beauty that you're already paying a premium to enjoy. That gets really old really fast. No matter where you are in Bend, there are endless options to take advantage of Bend's best quality, its natural beauty. Don't underestimate the winters. Now for the don't. Okay, so don't underestimate these winters. Yes, we get tons of sunshine, approximately 300 days a year, but we also get some serious snow in the winter months, and this is something you really need to consider before coming here. The average temperature in December and January hover in the teens and 20s, typically, and we get around 23 inches of snow each year. The roads can get really slick, and if you're needing to get kids to school, yourself to work, or if you're a skier and want to get up to Mount Bachelor, I would highly recommend getting yourself either some chains or a good set of winter or studded tires. You do not want to be caught in a snowstorm with your summer tires on. If you've seen my other video, the 7 worst things about living in Bend, you know that we have a ton of roundabouts. We have about 50 in our city, and those can be extremely challenging when it's slick or icy out. Picture a slip and slide for cars. As I record this, it is December, and last Thursday we had a pretty big snowstorm. The next morning I was heading out to a meeting fairly early, it was around 8 a.m., and the sun wasn't quite out yet. On my commute, I went through about 6 roundabouts, and of those 6, 4 of them had cars that had either slid off the road or were in an accident. This isn't typical because the road crews usually sand those, but it happens. So be sure to get yourself a good set of tires and be careful out there. Plan a vacation in December or January. Yes, we have lots of sunshine, but there are also many days in the winter where it's dark, cold, and gray. As we get closer to the winter solstice, the sun retreats by about 4:30 in the afternoon and doesn't come out again until 7:30 or 8 a.m. some mornings. Sure, it's cozy if you can snuggle up in front of a fire, but if you have other things happening in your life, it can take a big hit to your mood. Last year, we made the mistake of not planning a getaway until April, and by the time February rolled around, I was ready to sell our home and find a place in Arizona. Thankfully, we didn't, because who wants to live in 118 degrees during the summer? Not me. It was at that moment, though, that I realized planning an escape in the middle of winter needed to be a thing for us, and I'd highly recommend it for you too if you decide to move here. Make a point to get somewhere warm and sunny. If you're like me and need a break from the darker, cold months, don't forget about wildfire season. I hate talking about this, but we have to. Bend is the high desert. It's hot and dry during the summer months, and it's surrounded with large forests, and this can lead to wildfire season. While Bend itself is less prone to fires, the surrounding areas can experience smoke and air quality issues that do creep into our town. The smoke can stay for days and sometimes even weeks when it's really bad. In 2017, we experienced long stints when the air quality reached hazardous levels. That made it impossible to be outside, and it was really challenging because at the time I had 2 small kids that I had to keep safe and entertained during that time. This type of scenario can be very problematic for people who already have respiratory issues or allergies. Living in a small space with kids especially makes being stuck indoors pretty difficult to handle. This is definitely a big consideration when you're thinking about Bend, Oregon as a possible place to live, and also the size of place you're really willing to live in. Luckily, we haven't had smoke issues like 2017 in the past few years, but it happened and it could happen again. So keep that in mind. Do prepare for high housing costs. Another big do, be prepared for higher housing costs. The Bend real estate market has exploded in the last few years, regardless of the smoke season. And it's become more expensive than many people expect. Whether you're buying or renting, you're going to pay a premium to live in this beautiful town. From 2020 to 2024, the median home price in Bend has risen from roughly 50 to 55%. What was once a $450,000 median home price is now closer to $700,000 or $750,000 in Bend. According to Bend's census data, Bend's population has expanded by 15% year over year since 2020, causing a higher demand and less inventory, thus higher costs. With interest rates still fairly high, the market seems to be stabilizing, but housing prices remain elevated from prior to 2020, and we're not expecting that to change anytime soon. If you're moving here, it's important to understand that Bend isn't as affordable as it used to be. While it's still less expensive than cities like San Francisco or Portland, the market can be competitive, and you might find yourself paying more than you expected. Do support local businesses. Bend has a huge local business community, and supporting it means keeping Bend's charm intact. The culture here is centered around supporting homegrown businesses, and the people are incredibly proud of what's been built in this town. From breweries and coffee shops to art galleries and boutique stores, Bend thrives on its local economy. Bend has many unique attributes, but something those who live here really appreciate is that most of the businesses are owned and operated by people living here in Bend. This makes for a more independent ecosystem that creates a community vibe and charm that I've never seen anywhere else, and I've lived some places. Knowing that you're supporting your neighbors and not the billionaires living in another state or country feels pretty darn good. I do my fair share of online shopping for convenience, but I do try to keep my purchases here whenever possible, and you should too if you plan to live here or just visit. Don't rely too much on big box stores. Here's the don't. Don't expect a lot of big box stores or major chain retailers here. Bend has some conveniences, but it's still a small town. And like I just mentioned, we don't have the sprawling shopping malls you might find in a larger city, and that's great because we have a Target and we have some stores like Macy's, Old Navy, Walmart, and Costco, But Bend doesn't have a lot of other options at the moment. That's why we need to rely on our local community and businesses, which is kind of great. Online shopping is pretty convenient, but like I said previously, supporting local whenever possible is the way to go if you plan to make Bend your new home and don't want it turning into wherever you're coming from. Be kind, you're in Bend. The benefits of being in Bend include the charm and the community feel of being here. It takes effort and intentionality to live here. Even if you're from Bend, it takes a lot to remain in Central Oregon. As prices increase, there's still a lack of industry, and the winters can be rough at times. Feeling connected to other humans is so important. During COVID, the isolation we all felt between the masking of half of our faces so we couldn't see smiles, social distancing, and the inability to be together really highlighted for me and so many others how important real connection is for mental health. And if you don't believe me, there are plenty of scientific studies backing that fact. It's truly up to each one of us to create a warm and welcoming environment that keeps Bend what Bend is. Pretty awesome. If you're coming from a larger city and you're used to not making eye contact or getting to know your neighbors, maybe consider that there are other ways of being that might be more beneficial for not only you, but for your community as well. Don't bring your big city vibes. All right, remember why you're leaving LA, Seattle, Houston, or wherever you're coming from. Maybe you didn't mind being just a number. Maybe you were good with not knowing anyone or allowing people to cut you off or steal your parking space, but that's not any way to live. And deep down inside, you know it. I love a good city. I lived in quite a few of them before I got to Bend. I have to say the benefits of living in a place where people see you and get to know you feels so much better than what I experienced in New Jersey, LA, or Orange County. Sure, there are a few outliers I got to know at the gym or if I frequented a coffee shop, but the majority of the time, nobody knew me or had any incentive to be nice. Here in Central Oregon, even with the exponential growth, you run into familiar faces and cars become known. Please do us all a favor and don't move here if you want to bring your big city vibes. LA is LA, but Bend is Bend, and that's what makes it so great. I'm proud of our city, and I hope we can keep the smallish town feeling even with the increase in population. I hope you found this video helpful, and if you or someone you know is considering a move to Bend, reach out. We absolutely love helping people find their perfect locations and dream homes all over Oregon. And until next time, stay tuned for my next video where I'll tell you everything you need to know about vibrantly living in Oregon. Until next time.